Hello there, Mazzy here. Whack-A-Mole number 159, a random 5 album pulls from the record library, deep, dark depths of my world headquarters here. Now, I didn't invent random pulls. It's been going on since people started pulling records. I just adapted the term whack-a-mole, which I didn't invent either, to random pulls, which I didn't invent, put them together like peanut butter and chocolate, and showcase records, and I really enjoy it. Now, today, it's funny, I've been getting also a lot of requests. For the last few years, I get requests of where do you buy your hats? What kind of hats do you have? And a lot of my hats are from Gorin Brothers out of San Francisco. You can get them online. Now, I'm one that rarely likes to buy records online, but these companies, at least you can send them back if you have an issue. I think you need to check with a record. I also have several Stetson hats. Now, people think Stetsons are only cowboy hats. They're not, and I'll prove that in future videos. Borsellino's out of Italy. Just random hats here and there. Wear a size 7 1/4. But this hat is kind of a special hat, and I've had this hat for about 12 years. This is from House of Nines Design. This woman that used to be in San Francisco, I believe she's in Paris now, and this is the only hat in my collection that was actually custom designed for me. She designs various hats for people, but I mean, I've kind of worn this for a long time. Look at the beautiful inside, the fabric she used. A different type of hat for me, different style. It's sort of it's not a fedora, but it's closer to fedora. It's not a pork pie, of course. I don't even know the name of it, and I should know this because I know milliners and hat makers, but I just adore this hat, and I usually put this hat on when I'm trying to spiff up a little bit, dress up a little bit, dress for success. You probably think I'm full of shit. Anyway, 5 random pulls. Have fun, right? People are too friggin' serious in the world right now. So 5 random picks. 1, 2, stretch, 3, 4. How about a jazz album here? Not looking. 5. 5. Okay. From the Jazz Beetle Wall, which is in front of me here. Oh. Okay, this is a fantasy 2-for reissue from I'd say 1972 or 73, a 70s reissue of the great Dave Van Ronk, the mayor of McDougal Street, as he was referred to, the cantankerous folk hero of Greenwich Village in the early 1960s. Of course, a contemporary of Bob Dylan, maybe even there a little prior to that. If you ever saw the Coen Brothers film Inside Llewyn Davis, I love that film, and that gets better with repeated watching, and the music is great. It's loosely based on the character of Dave Van Ronk here, but what a great, great folk singer. Of course, one of the contemporary, didn't write it, but he covers Cocaine Blues, Cocaine Running Around My Brain, a folk staple that's been covered by so many different people. Samson and Delilah, Fixin' to Die, Motherless Child, many great folk standards of the day. And again, if you saw Llewyn Davis, the cat, which was a character, and people always wonder why was there a cat there. But Dave Van Ronk, again, has liner notes by Ira Meyer. Let's see, when was this released? Does it say that? Well, the 2 albums this is from, recorded in 1962. So the year of Dylan's first album, too, and everything was happening there. But again, it's just great. Let's see what it says here. Mentor of the early Greenwich Village folk atmosphere, provided guidance and inspiration for a host of musical talents and poets like Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, Judy Collin, Arlo Guthrie. He excelled in his individualistic blues interpretation, so sort of a folk blues thing. But if you're into folk music and roots and the whole Americana of the folk thing, the new revival, the folk revival in the 1960s, Dave Van Ronk is someone you definitely should have in your collection. Now, some say this guy is a one-hit wonder, and I'm going to use my first name for a change. I mean, my name is Norman. Never call me Norm. Norman's fine, but I'm that generation when I was a real little kid. Psycho came out. So Norman Bates was always like the psychopath, and then the nerd, and Norman is, just... Anyway, so people started calling me Maslov, Mazzy. That's how that came about. On and off, but people call me Norman. I just don't like Norm, okay? Now that we've said that. But this guy... This is one of those songs, one-hit wonder, but this whole album is good. It's, of course, Norman Greenbaum, and it's Spirit in the Sky. Again, one of those songs, a religious song, maybe, it is, but it's a great friggin' rock song, a great riff, used on more soundtracks and movies than, like, maybe even more than Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny, maybe. Overused, but it still works. Every time you hear it, you just go, yeah, I like that song. He lived in Petaluma in Northern California for so many years. He is still alive. This record, when did it come out? This was 1969, I believe, the original one. This is a reissue. I used to have original. I do no longer have original, but you all know Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. Okay, next. This is Select Bowie. This is a comp. Was this a Record Store Day comp, or is this the museum tour comp that happened? I saw the big art show, the big Bowie show at the Brooklyn Museum in 2000. Was it 19, 18, something like that? This comp is from, well, it says 2008, then 2014. So it's just a really interesting comp of Bowie. I don't know what to say. It's got Life on Mars, Sweet Thing, Candidate, Sweet Thing, Reprise, the Bellway Brothers, of course, from the Changes album, Hunky Dory, right? Lady Grinning, Sown Wind, Some Are. Interesting. Fantastic Voyage, Lovin' the Alien, a remix of Time Will Crawl. So it's just an interesting comp of David Bowie. I don't really know what else to say. It does come with this, okay. Oh, here we go, here, okay. See, I have to read because I don't recall. I think someone gave me this. This is I Select by David Bowie, and it says, for this vinyl compilation, I've selected 12 of my songs that I don't seem to tire of. Few of them are well known, but many of them still get sung at my concerts, usually by me. I'll start off with the hit. And it goes on, he talks about all these songs and what they're from, what albums they're from. So it's a personal choice comp, which is always nice when the artist sort of dips in and digs deep and pulls some records that aren't just the hits, just Ziggy Stardust, just Rebel Rebel, the usual kind of things you hear all the time. It's nice to, he's got such a deep catalog, and I am all in on David Bowie. Saw him 5 times, I guess, beginning with the Winterland show in 72. 500 people showed up, and the place holds 5,500. He was pissed. Great show, though, Ziggy Stardust. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. I know I've shown this in a ranking video of XTC. This is one of 2 of their pseudonym projects of Dukes of the Stratosphere. This is Sonic Sunspots PS, like Sonic. I always thought about way back when, again, I was talking about the Norman thing again, when Norman was so nerdy. I wanted to change it to PNORAM, like pneumonia, pneumonic, Norman, PN, the P is silent, or completely, arrange it and just spell it SADE, but pronounce Norman. This is it's one of 2. One is an EP. This is the vinyl the full album record. They did two. Well, the other one was EP. It was them. They had Studio Time, and XTC went in and did this record of based on kind of psychedelic garage like late 60s, mid to late 60s bands. And they did it, and it actually charted, and it gave them sort of a boost, a much needed boost at the time. Of course, I love XTC. I'm all in on XTC. And of course, like the Ruddles, they almost have these phony names like Sir John Johns, The Red Curtain, Lord Cornelius Plum, and E.I.E.I. Owen. So XTC's, this is this would be, but yeah, this would be a great sort of showcase to do bands like this. Of course, there's XTC, there's Rush that did that psychedelic covers album. I mean, they did use Rush, but a great kind of cover thing like this. Of course, Bowie did it in Hunky Dory, right? That's the cover album. Cover things can be done. Now, these aren't covers. These are original pieces that are written in that style and produced in that style. And this is the reissue from a few years ago. Look at this beautiful cover. The reissues are fantastic. I do have an original UK, but I couldn't resist this. So is it colored? Does it really matter? You'd think they would do it colored just because, but it is, it's black, and it's on their own Ape label, which is really fantastic. And they've been doing a great reissue program for XTC. And lastly, 1966, the year of Revolver, a great year for that really changed in psychedelia, of garage rock to psychedelia. That really kind of was the summer of love, the real summer of love, prior to 67, when all the press and everyone jumped in on the summer of love. But this has nothing to do with psychedelic summer of love. This is the very great Duke Ellington Orchestra plays the very greatest hits of 1966. So this is, again, pop jazz, Duke Ellington's orchestra, big band, or small group big band, if that makes sense. Small, big, doesn't make any sense. But look at all these songs they're doing. Red Rose for a Blue Lady, of course, that was pioneered, a hit song by Wayne Newton. Charade, People Who Need People, Barbra Streisand had a hit of that. All My Loving, we got a Beatles song here, A Beautiful Friendship. I Want to Hold Your Hand, Days of Wine and Roses, I Can't Stop Loving You. Good Life, Satin Dodd, Moon River. One of the great, I love Henry Mancini's compositions. Of course, I like this kind of jazzy stuff he did for Peter Gunn and the television soundtracks. But, one of the great composers, one of the great film composers of the 1960s, Harry Mancini. Of course, the Pink Panthers theme. But Moon River is probably his greatest song. That was from Breakfast at Tiffany's, I believe, and then it ends with an original Ellington 66. This is kind of a novelty thing in a way. I think this is the great, of course, Steamboat Reprise label right there. This is a fun record. It's nothing that everyone needs, but I kind of like when, the record companies probably, and the artists and the producers and the managers are saying, let's jump on this pop bandwagon and, do these hits that the kids are into and make them interesting enough for older people to buy and play at home in their bachelor pads or their summer houses or anywhere else. But this is a lovely, pristine copy. I mean, maybe nobody played this then. I don't know. Anyway, Ellington 66. Ellington 66. It reminds me, since we're here, what a coincidence. Let me find it. Let's see. On Warner Brothers Records, which is the sister company of Reprise, or Reprise was a division of Warner Brothers, Bullbrummels 66. Ellington 66. And the friggin', this is like a bonus round. I didn't randomly pull this, but I love the Bullbrummels. They're a San Francisco group originally with the hit Laugh Laugh, produced by Sly Stone, Sly Stone, and managed by Tom Donahue, the big daddy Tom Donahue, KYA Radio, later to start underground, the grandfather, the godfather of underground radio with KMPX and then KSAN. But this was a misguided thing for them. They had a couple of things, and of course they would redeem themselves. It wouldn't sell, but in '68 with Bullbrummels' Bradley Barn, sort of the beginning of country rock, the same time as Sweetheart of the Rodeo, around that same time. I'm digressing, but this is fun, for me at least, maybe for you. But this is one they did of covers. Really? I mean, in 1966, for a band as good as this to do covers, they do You Got to Hide Your Love Away, Mr. Tambourine Man, Louie Louie, Homeward Bound, Boots Are Made for Walkin', Yesterday, Bang Bang, Hang On Sloopy, Play with Fire, Woman, Mrs. Brown, You Got a Lovely Daughter, and Monday, Monday. I mean, all great songs, but why cover them like literally, 6 months after they came out, or a year after they came out, or a month after they came out? So this is probably this is which label? Is this Greenie? Yeah. Oh, this is right. This is even early. This is a silver or the gold Warner Brothers thing. But, it's a fun record novelty because I love Sal Valentino. I love his voice in the Bullbrummels. I just love this band. And, of course, Ron Elliott. They were just they're a great Bay Area band. Even their 1975, 76 reunion album, I think, was it Lenny Warnick or Ted Templeton? One of those guys produced it. It is really, really a good record. Anyway, that's Whack-A-Mole 5 with a bonus, so 66. Maybe I'll call this Whack-A-Mole 66, like Buffalo 66. Mazzy loves you. Take care. Violent community and people beyond. Why am I doing a voice like that? I have no idea.